depends upon the beginning, so pour a libation to Hestia. A child of the immortals offers fire to the immortals. O blessed Hestia, mistress of fire and light, flesh of my soul, bring into my home your divine fire. Let my house partake of your wisdom, love, and power. O blessed Hestia, be welcome in my home. Alright, getting into this video, I am pointing to chapter 17 of On the Gods in the World, which discusses why the gods would never destroy the world. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that the Discord community is open to everyone, so feel free to check it out. Also, a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed as we're nearing the 500 subscriber mark, and I appreciate all the support. Now, this topic has been discussed in previous videos here on the channel, but chapter 17 revisits it. So getting right into it, why would the gods never destroy the world? Quite simply, they have no reason to do so, nor could they. The wisdom and purpose of the gods aligns with the preservation of order and harmony within the cosmos. To suggest that they would destroy their own creation is a contradiction of their perfection. When we view the world as a divine creation, this implies that it is enduring and safeguarded from destruction by the gods themselves. However, we need to look at this closer and not just rely on assertions. We need to demonstrate through reason and observation why the world is incorruptible. Now, the fabric of the cosmos is composed of harmonious elements, and it is structured to resist decay. Within nature, we observe balance, which is maintained through cycles of life, death, and regeneration. This does not solely rely on divine will, but on the inherent incorruptibility within the design. Looking through a philosophical view, the world is sustained by principles that never change, such as the elements and laws of nature that govern our very existence. These principles are eternal, like the divine powers that preside over them and ensure that even as physical forms may change, the essence of the cosmos remains ever constant. Therefore, the world resists corruption in the fundamental sense and is upheld by the providence of the gods and its own natural properties that are designed to endure through all challenges. To really understand why the world is not subject to corruption, we need to define what corruption is. Corruption is the decay or destruction arising either internally or through an external force. For something to be capable of self-corruption, it would need properties which lead to its very own undoing. An example of this, as if fire was capable of extinguishing itself, or if water was capable of drying up due to inherent qualities. Now, since elements contain specific qualities, such as fire is heat and dry, where water is moist and cool, they're not capable of contradiction by containing self-destructive notions. If you would like to learn more on the elements, I do have different videos for each element on this channel. If the world is not capable of corrupting itself, then only an external force would be able to do so. This force would have to either be physical or incorporeal. A physical body outside of the world would also need to exert a destructive influence on it. However, as the world encompasses all existence, there is no such physical entity that could interact with it in this manner. So let's look at the next possibility, that of an incorporeal force, such as a divine being causing decay. But this also is impossible since incorporeal entities do not interact physically in a manner that would or could cause decay or destruction. As such, entities are associated with that of creation, order, and preservation, and not with corruption. Therefore, the world is immune to both self-corruption and external corruption, since by its very nature and the limits of external influences, it is incorruptible, and the existence of the world is sustained by an order that resists decay and ensures continuation. Incorporeal entities, such as nature and soul, are also contributors to the preservation of physical substances. These forces, though they are not physical themselves, underpin the order of the entire physical world. Where nature governs the cycles of growth and regeneration, soul animates living beings and guides them towards health and vitality. Their purpose is to sustain and not to destroy. Therefore, it would be contradictory to assume they could cause destruction, since it would negate their essence. Now, when we consider corporeal sources of destruction, we need to identify whether destruction could come from existing bodies or some other unknown entity. When we analyze bodies that currently exist, we observe that within the universe, we have those that move in straight lines due to gravity, while celestial bodies follow a circular orbit. If we suggest that terrestrial forces could destabilize celestial bodies, it would contradict our observations of the cosmos, where we know celestial bodies maintain precise, unaltered paths and are unaffected by terrestrial forces. Just the same, the celestial bodies moving in circular paths, which are considered symbols of perfection, do not cause disruption, but instead maintain cosmic stability. The concept in which circular motion embodies eternity is rooted in ancient cosmology, wherein the constancy of celestial bodies contrast with terrestrial objects who are subject to growth, decay, and eventual destruction. This continual motion strengthens the view that things moving in circular orbits are inherently incorruptible and driven by higher principles that transcend the decay of the terrestrial. The terrestrial bodies are those that are influenced by gravity and subject to corruption, but these objects have no way to reach or affect the celestial bodies in their orbits. This separation is not only physical, but it is also symbolic. It illustrates their fundamental difference. Celestial bodies are constantly immune to forces acting on terrestrial objects. This is evident by their uninterrupted motions throughout history. If interference were to be possible, such an event would have occurred at some point within the cosmic timeline, but its absence strengthens and reinforces the idea that objects moving in straight lines cannot disrupt those in circular orbits. Now, to suggest that the world could be destroyed by bodies that are not currently in existence would be speculative and unsupported by any phenomena that we are able to observe. Since no destructive bodies exist within the cosmos, there is no reason to believe that they will emerge in the future. The physical laws that govern our cosmos do not allow for the spontaneous appearance of such entities. Therefore, the concept of external corruption falls apart on examination, since existing bodies, both celestial and terrestrial, adhere to laws that promote order and not destruction. And corporeal forces, like those of nature and soul, also uphold the preservation of life and ensure the world's stability. It becomes evident that the world is not subject to corruption by either incorporeal or corporeal means. The continued existence of the material world is maintained by a harmony of natural and cosmic principles that resist decay. If we consider the possibility that straight moving bodies may cause destruction, we find similar limitations. Terrestrial bodies that move in straight lines, such as physical objects on Earth, may interact with each other, undergo transformations such as collision or decay. However, these interactions are confined to their realm, merely causing only temporary change rather than threaten the fundamental order of the cosmos. These bodies may break apart, merge, or decay, but they do not lead to complete corruption. Instead, the laws of nature make sure that these transformations are governed by cycles. That underscores change without fundamental destruction. The separation between those with circular and linear motion reflect a much broader distinction between incorruptibility and corruptibility. Celestial bodies, while moving in eternal, harmonious circular paths, are immune to corruption and symbolize self-sustaining preservation. Terrestrial objects, who are bound to linear motion, are subject to change and transformation but do not reach the perfect, incorruptible order of the celestial realm. Therefore, the type of motion, whether circular or linear, plays a crucial role in whether something is subject to corruption. The perpetual, unchanging motion of the celestial bodies highlights and illustrates their incorruptibility, while terrestrial objects remain within their own realm, unable to disrupt the higher cosmic order. This distinction affirms that neither the celestial or the terrestrial realms can corrupt the other, and this maintains that the universe is harmony with celestial and terrestrial components following their natural courses. The cycle of destruction and generation further illustrates the interconnectedness of the natural world, where the end of one form leads to the emergence of another, such as the decomposition of matter, which then in turn nourishes new life. Corruption does not mean the absolute destruction, but transformation. This cycle shows us that decay leads to regeneration and aligns with ancient views of life and death as part of a continuous process. If we were to entertain the possibility that the world may be corrupted by external bodies, we encounter significant philosophical challenges, such as where would these external bodies come from, and how would they exist outside of our self-contained universe that is governed by natural laws. Such bodies would have to either originate within the universe or beyond it. However, there is no existence that suggests the existence of external forces capable of corrupting the world. The universe itself operates as a closed system where all transformations occur within its own framework. When we discuss corruption, we also need to distinguish between the corruption of form and the corruption of matter. Form represents the object in question's essence, while matter is the physical substance of the object. When the form changes or decays, the underlying matter often remains and enables new forms to emerge. For example, a tree may decay in the forest, and while doing so, it enriches the oil, which in turn supports the growth of new life. So we can say that corruption facilitates the cycle of life through transformation and not through annihilation. If matter itself were capable of corruption, it would contradict what we observe of matter persevering through countless years, which suggests that the essence of matter is incorruptible. While examining the emergence of new forms, we have two possibilities that arise. Either they are generated from existing beings or from non-being. If they were to arise from existing beings, it implies that these entities are eternal, otherwise the cycles of generation would stop. This idea is in alignment with the philosophical concept that matter, which serves as the substrate for all physical existence, is eternal. The alternative to this is that of generation from non-being, which contradicts foundational principles since it is not possible for something to emerge from nothing. Consequently, the notion of the world being corrupted by forces outside of itself does not hold under scrutiny. The intricate relationship that we find between corruption and generation shows that while forms may change, the matter remains eternal and uncorrupted. As previously stated, the universe functions as a closed system where transformations occur from within its parameters, which ensures continuity. Because the nature of matter is enduring, it reinforces that the world is immune to corruption, as it constantly generates new forms through natural cycles. So it stands to reason that corruption in the world signifies transformation and regeneration, not destruction as we view it. If we were to say that all beings are subject to corruption, we face a profound dilemma. This implies that the world and everything within it is transient and fragile, which ultimately undermines the stability and order of the cosmos. This perspective raises unsettling questions regarding existence and purpose, and suggests that creation itself is bound to decay. This challenges the entire idea and concept of a coherent and enduring reality. Additionally, to say that matter may rise from non-being also introduces logical inconsistencies. Non-being, or nothingness, is fundamentally incompatible with that of generation. The idea that matter can rise from a state of non-existence contradicts the principles of existence and transformation. Without a foundation of being, generation from non-being becomes a completely illogical proposition, which defies already established philosophical understanding. Even if we were to consider the hypothetical that matter may emerge from non-being, the argument proves weak. The persistence of non-being side by side the existence of matter would imply that matter cannot entirely stop being. Therefore, the continuous presence of non-being reinforces the necessity that an enduring reality is beneath all forms, one that is completely impervious to total corruption. This idea points to an eternal substance or essence as the underlying support for existence, unaffected by the transient nature of any individual forms. This view now brings us to the relationship between that of existence and essence. If matter cannot originate from non-being, then its eternity becomes obvious, which ancient philosophy supports and suggests that matter, while allowing forms to transform, remains unchanging at its essence. So while forms undergo corruption and change, the essential substance endures all, allowing generation to continue eternally. In exploring the nature of corruption, we can see that true corruption does not equate to that of destruction. Instead, corruption is that of transformation and reorganization, which leads a form to dissolve back into its foundational elements or to shift to non-entity. An example, as organic matter decomposes, it reverts to its simpler components that nourish future life. This highlights continuity rather than termination. It illustrates that while forms may cease, their fundamental elements persist within the universe's interconnected fabric. The discourse around that of non-being as an indestructible concept also provides philosophical insight. Non-being, which is equated with nothingness, possesses no attributes, therefore alluding to any form of destruction. Its immutability supports the idea that while beings change, decay, or transform, non-being itself is a static and theoretical construct and not a tangible entity subject to alteration. When examining claims that matter lacks form, prompts some deeper questions. If matter is truly formless, it would imply a lack of identity among entities, which contradicts the variety and complexity of the universe. Such a claim as this would theoretically extend to the world as a whole and reduce it to an amorphous substance. This view challenges the observed diversity of forms that define very distinct qualities in nature. As well, some argue that while bodies may decay, only their aesthetic quality or their beauty truly suffers. This view identifies beauty as a transient attribute which is susceptible to time's effects, while the core matter remains. This distinction shows the idea that despite external changes, the essence remains unchanged, emphasizing that beauty is a surface quality while true existence transcends appearance. If we were to explore the cyclical process by which beings, when dissolved, return to their elemental natures, it suggests a regenerative view of existence. As beings dissolve, their elements remain and combine together to generate new forms, revealing an interdependent cosmos where dissolution becomes a prelude to that of further existence. This cycle of dissolution and creation reflects a dynamic and self-sustaining universe. Now, on the other hand, if we entertain the notion that of beings passing into non-being, it challenges the very concept of divinity, which we have established to be eternal and immune to decay. If divinity itself were able to succumb to non-being, it would question the nature of permanence and disrupt the notion of divine immutability. The idea of a divine being vulnerable to dissolution raises philosophical implications about the inherent stability of existence. Should we argue that the preservation of existence relies on that of power, we need to recognize that power must encompass more than self-preservation. True power sustains existence broadly, not merely by simply remaining unchanged, but by supporting the flourishing of all things in existence. This type of power therefore embodies a generative force that upholds continuity. The impossibility of generating matter from that of non-being further clarifies the boundaries of existence. Non-being, defined by an absence of qualities, therefore cannot yield being. Generation necessitates a connection to an established reality, aligning with transformation or the union of existing matter. Thus, the boundary between being and non-being underscores existence's continuity. If the world, as we know it, could indeed be corrupted, we face the question that if such decay aligns with nature or is in opposition to it, if it is a natural process, it would imply inherent qualities that allow change, yet the world's persistence suggests it is in possession of a natural safeguarding against total dissolution. This stability is in alignment with natural laws that preserve and maintain the integrity of existence. Conversely, if corruption is seen as opposite to nature, it would imply an opposition to the natural order, suggesting that there are forces of chaos and instability. A scenario such as this challenges the philosophical model of a coherent universe governed by an underlying harmony. To summarize, the interplay between dissolution, regeneration, and existence delineates a complex relationship that shapes our understanding of reality itself. Beings transform rather than vanish, which affirms the cyclical nature of our existence. The divine, and therefore, by extension, all beings, are a part of this dynamic. Power, as a sustaining force, promotes continuity, which reinforces that corruption is a mechanism for renewal within an interconnected cosmos. The suggestion that if the world corrupted against nature would imply the existence of an opposing nature and introduces a profound inquiry. If such a force existed, it would be part of our cosmos, which would be challenging the stability of the world's natural order. However, the absence of this contrary nature gives reason that the world's order is self-sustaining. The circular body of the world itself stands as a symbol of perfection, which evades the processes of decay that affect other beings. This distinction highlights the unique qualities of the world, while other elemental bodies participate within cycles of change and a stable framework. Similarly, time and aging affect beings in particular ways, yet the world itself remains constant and resistant to time's effects. Ultimately, these philosophical reflections invite a greater appreciation to the profound structures of the cosmos, whether corruption aligns with or opposes nature. These questions deepen our understanding of existence as a balance of permanence and transformation. It is through this exploration that we gain insight into the enduring principles that maintain the intricate order of the cosmos. So what do you think on the subject? Do you agree with Celestius or hold a different point of view? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, Salate.